Biden administration is fighting back against criticism over its response to the toxic train derailment in Ohio.
Yeah, a number of House GOP-led House committees are launching investigations into that incident. And the White House says that officials from multiple federal agencies are going to go door to door, in fact, are going door to door to speak with residents of East Palestine about how the derailment has affected them and their community. The teams are on track to reach 400 families by the end of today.
CBS News senior White House and political correspondent Ed O'Keefe joins us now. Ed, how's the White House approaching the derailment and responding to the criticism over the administration's response so far?
Well, guys, good to see you. Whenever a White House starts sending around fact sheets about all the things they've done to address something, you know they're facing criticism, and that's exactly what the White House did over the weekend, letting it be known that 350 families had been visited in East Palestine, as you said, with the goal of getting to 400 by the end of today. It's representatives from the EPA, the CDC, and other agencies that would be assigned to be there and have been there and have been aware of this since about 2 hours after the derailment happened. The president has made a point of calling that out and saying, we may not have physically been there, but we were aware of it within 2 hours as we were supposed to know about it in terms of federal rail safety officials being aware, and then, of course, all the other agencies that have moved in. But this has become a really great example of of Republicans, of conservative media, taking a specific tragedy that affects a certain community and turning it into really a national and global story. I think many at the White House saw this as just sort of and there's no better way to say this other than it's like a standard derailment with obvious safety concerns. But it's, of course, turned into something far more serious than that. And they are on the defensive, certainly, through the weekend and today, trying to defend it against what they know now is coming, Republican congressional oversight hearings.
Yeah, and there, of course, are questions about rail regulation and the length of these cars and whether more should have been done to move the heavy cars up front and with the sensors on the track, all of that. There are legitimate questions here, but it did get political real fast. To another subject that's gotten political, a classified report from the Energy Department concluded with low confidence in the term of art that it is plausible, their word, that COVID originated from a laboratory leak. And, of course, elected officials in Washington took this one, and they've been careful and sober and nonpartisan. And I'm kidding. This also got political very fast. What's the fallout like?
And it has been, of course, since really the first few months of the pandemic, as concerns were raised about whether China had done this on purpose or accidentally and just didn't fess up to it. And this report from the Energy Department suggests it may have been the latter, that there was some kind of lab leak, although the intentions of that or whether it was intentional or not is not that well known. And it's important to remember when it comes to these kinds of intelligence assessments, the dozens of agencies that do this are then asked to rate how confident they are in the assessment. Is it low? Is it medium? Is it high? Those are the kinds of questions, for example, President Obama asked back when they were trying to figure out whether Osama bin Laden was really in Pakistan or not. Is your confidence low, medium, or high? And in some cases, it was still low or medium, and in fact, he was there. And so that's what draws attention to this. And yes, it became political pretty quickly because there are now at least 2 committees in the House who are investigating this. One is this new Select Committee on China, which has been stood up and starts tomorrow night with a primetime hearing to look into broad general concerns about China's reach and attempts to, stifle American competition. And so it'll be fodder for them. It's fodder for other committees that are looking into the origins of the pandemic and how the Biden administration executed its response to it in the years since they took over. So notable that this report was leaked when it was, but also important to point out that the confidence level is low, and it's coming from just one federal agency, even though the FBI has general similar conclusions about what might have happened.
And Ed, while we have you on the line talking politics, Governor Ron DeSantis, governor of Florida, held a donor retreat in Palm Beach over the weekend. I've also been seeing some of his press releases celebrating the takeover of Disney's self-governing district. Tell us, how is he laying the groundwork for his 2024 bid? He seems busy.
Well, that issue with Disney and its tax status in Florida is a policy issue handled through his official office of the governor and the state legislature. You'll remember that fight from last year. But what now is really ramping up is his political work with an eye towards 2024. He has a new memoir coming out tomorrow. Ahead of that, he held a retreat over the weekend, as you said, in Florida, held a series of events with senators including Mike Lee and Ron Johnson, other top donors and conservative luminaries. He moderated himself many of these panels to show his prowess and his interest in these issues. He hits the road in the coming days to go to places like Texas in California for fundraisers and book events, and he leaked excerpts of it to the New York Post and Fox News. All sounds like somebody, guys, who's thinking about preparing for and eyeing the White House, even though he's not officially doing it yet. But when you put out that memoir, all 250 pages of it, light read, it's a sign you're thinking about it.
It is, and the Republican National Committee has announced that the first debate will be in August, not too far into the future for Republicans. They're probably preparing a lot of podiums and microphones for that.
Right around the corner.
Yeah.
Ed O'Keefe, thank you.
Take care.
You can stream Red and Blue tonight at 5 p.m. Eastern right here on CBS News.